All right. So I want to keep this in mind for what's going on here. I like his work. Let me begin by saying I like Andrew's work here. I keep him as one of my uh, crewmen, horsemen over there at the horseman guard. The Tomb of the Unknown Mason robot would be better for him than the soldier. Let's say. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yep. There he is, right in there, and he's squared. No kidding. Look at that. Oh, amazing. We're good.
The regular metric plus a small deviation, which would be 2 phi. Yeah, 2 phi times
This
the
bunny
metric,
rabbit
so that's what they're calling
right here.
delta.
This
It's simple
marshmallow,
to see that the
this dainty
Polyakov
noodle. You're
action
never
is
really
occurring
sure
under
which
this
is which,
transformation.
and so I want to
The
make sure we
factors of
keep that
omega squared
context in mind for
drop
my
out just as the
leisure,
factors of
because
alpha did.
this is what I'm doing it right now, and it may
That's
not seem
really
like that, but one
interesting
of you
to me
brothers are gonna pick
because
me apart
if you
and
look
him
at the
apart,
if we go back
and if
to
you
the
can.
equations of motion,
I'm pretty good, and I'm
uh,
covering his net, but I'm tearing him down by doing it. If I'm putting in this, all right, so what's an integral?
yeah,
Well,
if
an
we go
integral
back to
is
this
t over
equation of
2.
motion,
I'm talking f1 plus
let me
f2 into
kind of
polarized
break
cells.
stuff
Just
out in a
me,
while. Let me
one
go ahead
thing.
and do
If we
that.
had a military contract on the background for tread docks, now we changed out the equation a little bit here, and we used some droid stuff. Hello world, this is how you
So
program.
if you were to take,
And tip tap ones and zeros, close to 1, close to 0.
say g hat, ooh, what happened there?
Well, this is
G
just a
hat
derivative. You got to
equals
figure out what
minus
that
g.
symbol looks like. It's a Planck. This is a cant is 4 inches by 6
There's
inches, 8 foot to
No
12
more
to
pop-ups.
14 foot long. Yep, that is the environment squared. There, if it's not 14 or one of those other ones, it would probably be G, garbage board, because it messed up the cut and it doesn't fit any other parameters cleanly inside of that system, which would be omega inside here, old bones squared, and turn it around, change the. From my perspective as boss to your perspective as a guy cranking the board on this right out of this 2x4 wind tunnel test, that derivative s over derivative space is a 2x4 moving at 200 miles an hour. That would be the second part. It's 2x4, weighs certain weight in certain systems, which determine how far it'll go. Ping pong ball versus a baseball when you throw them. There is a difference in hydrogen and fluovium in the pipes, and so that gets you into some heavy Jacobian matrix stuff, x, y, z, where instead it's saying, well, derivative x and derivative y equals derivative t, right? Or zeta, the start of the function and the very end of the function. Now we can play with a bunch of middle stuff like you could as a crew member in a mill, or a boss looking at a crew member's position. Remember, they're going to be relative under the same system, but relatively back to Omega being a spooky monster underneath that sheet right there, straighten this thing out on. They will have to sentinel walk their way through this and then do that on reciprocals, start back over. The start back over program to this is get back to that space. Only click clock. Yep, they walk this way at the tomb, and then they walk this way, and it starts over the clock, and it takes this long. Sentinel guard, see things, count for board, unload that board, look back around. It's different than the first time I looked at that board set, running down the rail. There she is. One common, triangle means hardwood, and if that's what I wanted this equation to represent to you, let's take a listen. No offense, Andrew. This is what the problem is about math. Laplacian, Planck, Maxwell. Yes, they did things. Maxwell did things with electricity and things. Like Pensrow does with students in a classroom, conducting energy. So, before you get into needing, I don't know, maybe you want to be an electrical engineer. Maybe you want to be a sociologist. Maybe you want to be a psychologist. This code would play the same way. They are up, they are down from the relative perspective of my seat at the desk. So commonly schizo, but it was up and down. And the golden ratio on that is how much up and down, because it's a fifth dimensional on three dimensionals, right? So I got 3 points. It is X, Y, and Z, and if it's moving in that direction, it'll go with a certain time space. Statistically, probability, tilde moose. So you get to the general, and you know it's Bones on the phone, because I'm thinking about the front, and I'm thinking about there's no way I can go check out Boca Bones. I got this kid in front of me talking about some Omega stuff.
Think about it if the metric is diagonal, in which case the determinant is just the product of the diagonals.
The front today, I mean, we ain't going to Boca tonight, you know, and war zone out there.
And each one of those components transforms with the square of that omega.
What's a soft
so
one?
there would be
It's like I said, you don't have any of the mill mapped out, your numbers, your paycheck versus your product, do you?
hat.
It'll be one.
Would
One, just getting the
transform
information
in terms
too.
of
Trying to figure out the codes of those numbers, because this is
so we're
7
not
right
just
now,
taking
and you're
the
trying to
determinant
add all
metric,
that
it's
up in
the
the
square
factorable
root, so that
ratios
factor
of the
of 2
pie
would
chart
cancel,
here.
so it'd be omega
Figure out
t
how much percentage of
x
being right you are
times
up or
roots
down
minus g.
relatively to these
And
positions
if
you
we
were.
substitute this in,
And so we do that on Brick and Jar.
this
Get up there
equation.
and tell me math. And it's like, so,
So right
I don't
now,
know. Well,
we're
go
in
to Berkeley.
unhatted.
And I hit you just like this. Let's go to
Unhatted,
Berkeley.
so
And their
we can
final
invert
exam is
everything.
5 equations that have 5-minute limits on it over this group of students, and you all set the curve under yourself, and it'll look like 1 plus 5 plus, in parentheses, 1 over arc sine, in parentheses, sine, 5, 1 plus 5, or whatever it is, and then derivative x. And what that means is, out of you students, who can actually graph a path, just walk around the goddamn mountain and tell me the Carpenter, Potter, or fucking Spartan Warrior goddamn numbers inside of here for the hangman bits, you being square.
So 1 over root g.
Did you do it? Did
would
you
then
not
be
do it?
written as
The hangman, I
omega
guess you don't care. You just do math.
to the
And you
d
would say
of
things
x
like, well, my brother's
over
cousin, uncles, whatever you want to say up there at the stage in the
minus
Brick and
g
Jar conjecture, because that's what it'll
hat
be. It's going to sound like clang, clang. You're in a math class talking about physics. You're
times
supposed to be a board
du.
cranker that'll stop
So I'm doing a
operations in the middle of the
transformation
thing
of
and
the
just
metric,
talk
and I'm
about
leaving-
whatever.
I'm
Blue
leaving
comes
the
first,
coordinates
red comes
alone.
first, whatever it is, because that's a constant pump, and I don't know what this other guy's thinking about behind it. So as long as it follows the rules of
But I'm
gravity,
sure that what I'm saying so
I
far
never
makes
stop and need to
sense.
do anything. So between 8, 8, and 8, you got to figure out other things, because these
What's-
would be the
what's
gaps. Is
better?
it up on 8-hour workday, or
Now
down
we have
on
a
up,
root g,
whether
which
it's
is
in
gonna
that
be
squared position or
omega
root
to the
position, or
minus d of x.
respect for tau.
G hat.
You know, I like the boss and everything, and he's going to set some
Then we have
standards in there that based on
contrary,
gravity that would
or the inverse
be
metric,
up and
I guess.
down, up and
So
down,
then we're
up and
gonna
down.
have an omega
And so I don't know which one I'm talking
squared
about when I'm talking about,
x
oh, you want a thesis on
g hat mu nu.
anything. Because it should
D
slide
phi.
through everything. Bernoulli's. We'll change out the
Don't
math
get me
problem and say,
wrong,
oh, well,
there
that's
might be a
construction.
solution
Huh?
of
Yeah,
phi
just
where
rebuild
there's
and
a
Larry.
transformation of phi that leaves
It's
this invariant.
refabbing, or
But
the business model works the same way
I'm
as I
saying
put
if I
in
leave
days
that
to
alone, I
restore
don't see how this is
Indian
gonna
head
work out.
motorcycles.
This is equal to omega
Panhead
to the d of
motorcycles.
x.
That is the limit,
Minus
and it is
d.
X.
I'm
When you're
gonna
going to
drop
do
the
the square
minus
root of
sign,
gravity
get
on
it,
that, it's going to be
it's
cost, time.
pseudo-Riemann,
How
and
long
there's a
can I do
minus sign you
one
have to
fucking
take care of.
factor inside of,
D mu
after the bounce, cling, and then it stretched out that far.
omega
I minus that
the
factor
minus
and the throw
d
in
plus
itself, or
2
the throw in its black body
minus
radiation
d
problem to potential
d
momentum or
nu
potential
mu
kinetics
phi.
inside here. They're going to bounce like this and say, so we go back to the panhead Indian head motor, and that's plus 2. So
Well, first of all,
the
this
carburetor
these
and the
equations
front
of motion are
brakes.
equal to 0, so I
and they
actually
have
don't
totally
need to
different
carry this
timelines,
stuff
but they
around
might
anymore. I
both
just look at
occupy a
this.
day. And so we cross that back out. F1 plus
So if I
F2
take
equals
this
minus
derivative,
F1.
this
And I'm taking
is a function
those
of
versions
x.
of what the math problem
So
is,
this
which
is
is
gonna
the
do
original
a
math
bunch of
problem.
product
It's
rule.
going to
What should
still
we
be the
do?
base.
Should we make
I
the
figure out
metric,
math
should we
as a
pretend the
time
metric is
trick,
constant?
and then I'm going to start that back
Or should we
over,
keep
but
it
we can
general?
change out omega to gravity. Now that's, oh, panhead or brake thing, it becomes X. X has timelines on those systems, which sometimes can be G. But it's all over the
minus
road with
d plus
mathematicians.
2
So I just kind of go, yeah, you'll find that it's all over the
omega
road kind of problem, the spooky
to the
monster under the
minus
sheets.
d plus 1
But you get to be
times
that spooky
d mu
monster a little bit.
omega.
Your crew, when you remind them of that, and it says, you're going to do that. It's not going to be me. I could step into
minus
that
g
room, and we could start talking about
hat
string
mu
theory, and your ass would
d
be hammered.
phi plus
Just because I'm
omega to
principled.
the minus
Not
d
that I want to be
plus
mad, but
2
all right, and I'm going to get going.